Hi, guys, and welcome to Keep Hope Alive. I'm Nadine. Today we have a special guest with us, Dana Saperstein. Thank you for coming on the show today. And we're going to have a lot of fun talking to him. He is so knowledgeable and has been through many different things of teaching about depression, anxiety, even relationship, counseling and all that. So we're going to dive into that on this episode. So really quick, I want to ask you a question. I ask everybody this question. How many weddings have you been to in the last 10 years?
Well, I don't think I've been to any because I think my daughter just celebrated her 10th anniversary earlier this year.
Oh, okay.
And she was her wedding was amazing. It was one of the best days of my entire life, even though it was her wedding. It was very sweet, and I will be going to a wedding next year because my son's engaged. But
Nice.
because I'm as old as I am, I don't get invited to weddings very often.
Oh, but you know what? Weddings, it's so funny. It's backwards. Like I thought my daughter would get married this last year. She got out of school. She's been with her boyfriend for 8 years, but no, they want to do it all backwards. So I'm just like, wait, I don't want to go backwards. I don't want to have the baby first and then get married. I want you to get married first and then have a baby. But
Right.
I don't get to say these younger kids, they make up their mind.
Oh
And
my goodness, that's the truth.
yeah, definitely. So I'm getting off tangent here. So with weddings and everything, when you go into this ceremony site, usually there's a guest book there that you would sign and say, hey, I was here at your wedding. Well, lifeonrecord.com, they actually put a vintage phone there, which is really cool. And,
Really?
I get to thinking about it. Do you want it at the church or do you want it at the reception hall? I think it can go either way, but they can pick up the phone and leave a message for 1 minute, 5 minutes, or even 30 minutes if they wanted to. But right next to it is a QR code. So you can take your phone and scan that and hit the little yellow thing that comes up and it will save it for you. So it gives you time to use your own phone also and leave a message for them to congratulate them. So after they get everybody's message, they burn them on a 12-inch vinyl record, or they put it in this cute little boom box. So I guess when you're celebrating your 1 year or something, you bring everything out, you can bring that out and listen to everybody's voices wishing you congratulations, and they're probably saying something funny on there or jokes or something also. So but their plans start at $99 and you get that phone number for 1 year, which is a really great deal. I want you guys to look them up because they're really good and their phones are adorable. I love them. It's www.lifeonrecord.com. All right, well, Dana, we're going to have fun. We're going to just dive into here. So I was reading, you're actually from Santa Barbara, California. And I bet that was nice. So how long have you actually been there?
I've lived in Santa Barbara since 1976.
Oh,
At the
okay.
end of 76, I came here actually from Hawaii to finish my college education.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
but I've lived in a lot of different places. But Santa Barbara is my home. I've been here ever since I
Oh,
went to college here, and I decided that this was a place for me. So I raised my family here, and I just actually, you're speaking of weddings, I just celebrated my 43rd wedding anniversary, which is very sweet. And it's to the same person. We've been married
hey.
forever.
Well, congratulations. That's
Thank
what's
you.
important.
Yeah,
And you know what? I wish things were like that still in today's world.
yeah.
So I'm so happy for the both of you. That is very rewarding and
Thank you.
honorable. So I love hearing stories like that. So, but you said your college education. So you came and what did you major in?
I majored in psychology. I started in junior college actually in San Diego. And then my roommate and I got the wild idea in the early mid 70s to move to Hawaii, where I actually met my wife on the beach, amazingly enough.
Oh,
So it's a very romantic, lovely story about how we met. And then I came back to finish my education, and she came back to California, and then we got together and have been together ever since. It's been a really long time.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Was she there visiting or did she live there?
She had just finished nursing school at UC San Francisco and was there with her sisters on vacation. And it was
Oh,
a
okay.
very unusual meeting. I mean, I don't want to bore your audience with the
No, no,
story.
no. I'm
It was
thinking,
very
how do I
sweet.
meet somebody? Like, do I need to go to the beach in Hawaii? Maybe I can meet somebody too.
Yeah, it was a really magical situation, actually.
Oh,
That was totally unexpected. I've been with the same person since I'm 21 years old, basically. Which is,
oh, wow. That is so awesome. And how many kids do you have?
I have two children, a son and a daughter. My son is 36, and my daughter's 38.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Those are
we
good
got a
ages.
couple of
Yeah.
grandkids. Yeah,
And
it's really
great
good.
kids. Yeah,
Yeah. And luckily,
definitely.
they all live in Santa Barbara, so we get together all the time.
Yay. And family is so important. Now we have Christmas coming up right away. I'm sure. I don't know. I'm shopping on Amazon. I just want it delivered. I don't want to go into a store, but
I'm
that's
in
me.
charge of being the Christmas grump, so that's my role.
The grump. Well, you have every right to, and I guess you can do it professionally.
Exactly.
Sorry. So, other than that, I'm glad you have medical experience. You said nursing. Was there any other form of medical training that you got?
Well, I mean, I started when I was in graduate school working in a psychiatric ward at a private hospital here in Santa Barbara, and I worked there part-time for about 7 years. So I got
Okay.
a fair bit of experience with pretty severely mentally ill people,
Oh,
uh,
wow.
which
Yep.
was a really good experience for me. It was obviously a sad environment for the people that were hospitalized there, but I got a great experience professionally. And then I've been in private practice ever since I graduated in 1980. Well, I started in about 1987.
Okay.
And I've been practicing pretty much full time all the way up until now. I only see about 20 people a week, but I used to see about 26 or 7 people a week. So,
Oh, okay. Wow. So
yeah,
you have your own office out there and you do counseling?
yeah,
Is
yeah. So, I mean,
okay.
I'm actually sitting in my office right now. The blinds are closed, but right outside my window is the Pacific Ocean. It's a really, really sweet, beautiful office up on
Oh,
the hill that looks out 180 degrees all the way across the ocean. So the good thing about that is when my new clients come in, they look out the window and say, "Oh, I don't need to talk to you. I'm just going to look out the window. I'll be
I
fine."
know. I know.
So
I watched my soap opera Bold and the Beautiful, and it's right there on the beach. And I was like, oh, I would love to listen to the beach every night, the waves and everything.
it's not
So,
quite that close, but it's pretty dramatic. The view is really amazing.
okay, good, good, good,
Yeah,
good. That's awesome. So, I mean, also you and your brother,
yeah.
I guess published a book. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, we published the book in 1990, which was a long, long time ago. When I started my career, I worked with a lot of people that had post-traumatic stress from being in automobile accidents, actually. Not really severe accidents, but with people who have a background of trauma. Oftentimes, when they're in an accident, it stirs up all the trauma they've ever suffered. So you
Yeah.
can experience a tremendous amount of anxiety in a relatively minor
Oh,
car
yeah.
accident.
Yeah, definitely.
So
So,
we decided to write the book because people didn't know how to negotiate their way through the system at that time. So the book was about the emotional, the financial, and the medical part of recovering from a car accident. But that's a long time in the past. I don't do much of that anymore because I got very little cooperation from automobile insurance industry to pay my bills when I was treating people, so I just gave it up.
oh, gotcha. I know I told you I added it to our store. So if people ever wanted to get it, and it was called Surviving an Automobile Accident.
Yeah. And
So,
I'm currently working on a book that's much more applicable to what
good.
I'm doing, which is a podcast called Fear Me Out. And the book is also called Fear Me Out. And it's all about helping people manage all the different fears that life has to offer in a graceful way, because I don't think any of us can live without fear. It's a natural part of our existence, and it's our relationship to fear that determines the outcome, not trying to get rid of it. Because you
Yeah,
can't get rid of fear. It's built in to keep us alive. So,
I know. It's not fun either.
no,
So, but with any fear, I've had that way back in the past. I was like, no, I don't like having fear. I don't like
nobody
this.
does.
It was very stressful time. So, and then, so yeah, I want to look at more, I guess, of what you do. Is there any other like stories or examples that you can kind of give us about? I mean, I know you can't talk about patients, but what is the biggest thing that you treat on? Is it PTSD, anxiety? What do you see a lot more people coming in with?
Well, because I specialize in trauma, I see a lot of people that have had really very difficult childhood experiences that involve uh, emotional, physical, sexual abuse, and a fair bit of emotional neglect. I've worked with people that have been sexually abused by mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and aunts and uncles and teachers and clergy and any and every possible combination you could imagine, both men and women. I see as many men in my practice as I do women, which is a little bit unusual.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like that because, I mean, one of the reasons I started my podcast is to show people what it looks like for an old man, me, to talk about his trauma and the things that I suffered as a kid, and to try to normalize the idea that it's okay to talk about really delicate, uncomfortable things, and that that's the only way to heal. And I figure if I couldn't do that through example, I have no business asking people to open their
No,
heart to me.
yeah,
So,
so
um,
by you being able to share your experiences is
yeah.
gonna help other people. So,
But my first experience with trauma was in utero, which is hard for people to accept because it's a very unusual story. Um, I was about 6 months inside my mom, and my mom was downstairs in the basement in the house that we lived in. My little sister was holding onto her dress, and my dad came home from work, and my parents got in a huge argument with each other because my dad was having an affair with his secretary, and my mom knew it. And what I felt was that my mother believed that he was being unfaithful because she was ugly, because she was pregnant with me. So I recall very distinctly taking her ugliness into my body through my umbilical cord. And I was born allergic to my mom and not able to get nourishment from her. And I think it's as a result of that experience. Now, I told the story to my wife when I first remembered it. And she
mhm.
said, I don't know if you can remember stuff like that. But then about a year later, she had lunch with my mom, and just spontaneously out of the blue, my mom told her the exact story that I told my wife,
Yeah,
with the exception of me taking the pain into my body, because I don't think my mom was aware of that. But she described the whole situation that led up to my feeling responsible to take care of the pain of my mom.
yeah,
When I was 4.5, I was in the hospital because I had to have surgery. And back in those days, when you got dropped off at the hospital, your parents were not allowed to stay with you. So my parents left me there, and an orderly came into the room, and he sexually abused me when I was 4. And he told me that if I told anybody, he would kill me. And so the next day, when they were putting me under anesthesia, he was in the room, and I thought they were actually killing me. So I went into anesthesia screaming at the top of my lungs, "I won't tell, I won't tell." And none of the memories of this experience came up until I was in my 30s.
oh wow.
So I carried around this horrible sexual abuse for 25 or more years before it started to come back and haunt me as an adult.
Yeah, so you had it bottled up that long?
I didn't even know it happened. I
Oh,
blocked it out so far that I had no idea that it even happened. And the only reason that it came up, Nate, is because when my little daughter turned 4 years old, her body just reminded me on some level of what I was like as a 4 year old. So I
yeah,
started with the most intense, horrible nightmares. And it was actually the same nightmare night after night of somebody chasing me around in a tile room with a syringe trying to kill me. And I had no idea why, I was having this nightmare, because this was after having at least 10 years of really intense
Yeah.
therapy. And it never came up in the course of
Mm.
all of the really hard work I did. And it's only when I started having nightmares that I thought, boy, there's something going on here that is beyond imagination. And then I had a really insane experience with someone uh, that helped me remember exactly what happened.
Like hypnosis or
Actually, if you want to hear the story, I went to a party
yeah.
on New Year's Eve of 1989-90. Uh, there was only me and my wife and the people that owned the house that was at the party, and our kids were playing. And my friend said, "Hey, I want you to meet this woman. She's a very interesting person." And that's all he said to me. And so a few
Mm-hmm.
minutes later, a woman came in the door. She had a pad of paper with her, and she sat down on the couch next to me, and she said, "I've heard you've been having, a sort of a difficult time in your life. And, Alan just wanted me to come and meet you." And she picked up paper, started writing, and what she wrote was exactly what happened to me when I was 4.5 in the hospital. And as soon as I started to read it, I remembered everything that took place.
Wow.
And I knew this woman for 15 minutes of my life, and she wrote the whole story of everything that took place in minute detail. And I just had the most insane, as you can imagine, emotional and every
Yeah.
other way reaction to it. Because how would a stranger be able to solve this riddle for me in such a dramatic, insane way?
Yeah.
And
That's
I
you're not
remembered, and
sharing
I
any
knew
of your story. Yeah.
she. I mean, she just wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
The salutation on the paper said "God, comma." So it was a letter from God to me to help me heal. Now, at that time in my life, if you asked me what my religion was, I would say that I was an antagonist. I was an atheist or agnostic. I was very antagonistic about any kind of spirituality or any kind of notions that there was such a
Yeah.
thing as God, because I was forced to participate in my religion against my will. And so all it did to me was make me super resentful and feel like the whole thing was a bunch of baloney. So I was a very aspiritual, kind of an angry person
Yeah.
when it came to, anything spiritual in any way. Uh,
Yep.
this experience completely changed my life, like overnight, because the message was so powerful and so healing. And it was written by God according to the piece of paper I had. And I thought,
Yeah.
I didn't even know which way was up at first, because I was so stunned, not just by being able to remember what happened, but also to have to consider that my deep, deep prejudice against God was ill-founded.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
so that moment changed my life in a way where uh, I became very deeply connected on a spiritual level, not at a religious level, because I still had that resentment against organized religion. But
Mhm.
that's a personal sort of way of experiencing spirituality.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, I can't believe that. Somebody can, well, I would say, I met somebody on my podcast and they just blew me away.
Mhm.
Like, knew all this stuff. And I'm like, whoa. Like, right after, it's like, how'd you know ABCDE? And,
Yeah.
it's just like, I get thrown off. And, even one of our sponsors, she was able to, through lipstick and handwriting analysis, she was able to pinpoint me right down to the T. And
No.
I was
Yeah.
like, I want to book her out like to all these different events now. Like, so I was very impressed. But, I grew up in my family, oh, you never want to believe that. Da, 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 da. I'm sorry. I'm a free spirit. I'm open-minded. I
Right.
like hearing the different things that happen in the world to people. Everybody has a story and everybody needs to tell it. It's a healing journey too. So,
Right.
but definitely. So, like with PTSD, I've always wondered some stuff with it. I guess somebody told me you can get medical, I guess, PTSD from things if things are not going well with doctors or a hospital visit. Is that a true thing?
Well, it's interesting you bring this up because I've had I've almost died 4 times in my life, and uh, a couple of those experiences were extremely traumatic. And
Yeah.
I've also had open heart surgery. 10 hours of open heart surgery was very traumatic, and I've had 7 spine surgeries that hold my spine together with titanium rods and screws all the way from top to bottom. And some of those surgeries were over 10 hours. And I can tell you that I was really traumatized by, uh, those intense medical experiences. So I've had to actually do some work on releasing some of my own medical trauma, especially after I had open heart surgery, because what they do when you have open heart surgeries is that they saw you open and then they pry you open and then they mess with your heart for 10 hours, replumbing the whole thing. So
Oh,
you're basically dead on the table for however long you're under anesthesia. The only thing that keeps you alive are the heart lung machine, instruments. And so I think that despite the fact that you're under anesthesia, your body remembers what can happen when you go to sleep. So after that surgery, I couldn't sleep at all. And so I
yeah.
realized I had post-traumatic stress because every time I tried to go to sleep, my body was like, well, you're not going to let anybody saw you open and pry you open again, are you? So yeah, I definitely believe that medical stuff can cause trauma for sure.
Yeah, like my doctor, like I had the gastric sleeve and then I had the bypass because he had to go back and do something. But then I had an ulcer and he had to take it. I remember this. And then I got sent home and everything, and I broke into 102 fever.
Oh
And I
dear.
had a wedding to do the next day. Thank God for this Facebook, thank for a bunch of women that are photographers. I was able to find somebody because I called my doctor and I go, I have 102 fever that's not breaking. Da, 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 da. I feel like I'm getting worse. And he's like, you need to get in here now, just now. And
Yeah.
I'll never forget this because when I walked through the hospital doors, literally into the lobby, going to the door, he's running out. There's no time to wait. Da, 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 da. And he made the comment, we got to cut you open now. You
Right.
probably have sinusitis. And I go, oh, no, you're knocking me out first. There's no way. There's no time. And he was like, he said to my mom, do you want to come? And there's these nurses holding me down. And I was like,
Oh,
I could see the whole thing. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And then I guess that made my white blood cells go all over the place that day. And then the next, they kept me overnight. And then I had a seizure and I fell head
oh,
first and I got a hematoma on my head. And I know I probably have PTSD because every time I go to a hospital and if I had to go to the bathroom, I always look at that cord, but you don't
yeah.
know when you have a seizure and it's like,
Right.
are they leaving the room? Or, I have this fear that I want to just run and hide from. Like,
Sure. Well,
it's
that's the
just,
nature of PTSD.
it is. Yeah. That's what I thought. We're diagnosing me here. So, but that's one thing that I know it scared my husband at the time because he was like, oh my gosh, I just cannot believe this. It's too much for me too. I keep
Yeah.
seeing it, your face because it was bloody and oh,
Yeah. I'll be a
uh,
man.
yeah. And I remember when he's like, do you want to see your face? And I'm like, no, I don't want to see it. But, it was just like the world had stopped. When you're in surgeries, sometimes like I will come out from having a real bad seizure or, and it just seems like the news is on. This is the world, you're just kind of like adjusting back in the realms of things. And I was like, why am I here? Like, I hate asking that question because I thought what happened to me, that was it. Like, this is
Yeah.
it. I'm going to go from a seizure or something, So,
Right.
um, but everybody's different. They suffer from anxiety, depression from their illnesses in the medical field. My
Right.
friend, she just passed last December 11th. So her anniversary is coming up soon. But she had really bad chronic pain and she was always in and out of the hospital. And I could tell she probably did have PTSD. Like when we talked about things, she was just like, I hate it and brings back bad memories. And she was a smoker and they don't let me smoke. I'm just like, well, yeah, you're at a hospital. You got to
Yeah,
get over that. So, but I mean, it was interesting. I guess I was there to help her calm
right.
down a lot from the things that were bugging her. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, so it's a Monday through Friday job for you, helping all these people out.
Yeah, I work in the mornings clinically from like 9 to 1 every day. And then I do podcast stuff or nothing in the afternoon.
Isn't it
Sometimes
fun?
I do interviews on the weekend if somebody can't make it in the afternoon during the week for the podcast. But yeah, I try to keep it simple.
Yeah.
And I
And
feel at this point in my life, I don't really have to work. I do it because I love it. And I don't have any plans on retiring.
yeah, yeah. That's the one thing I love. It's the end of the day of work. And I get to do a podcast. Yay, because
Yeah.
it's so fun to me. I mean, I think it's better than going out, I hate to say this, and doing karaoke and having to wait till 9 o'clock to start. And then I like
Yeah.
to go to bed early. So it's like, yeah, this is not winning me over here. So, but doing the podcast is very rewarding. Sometimes I will come early in the morning to do a podcast too, because I get people in London or
Right.
Australia. Hey, our time zone difference is this, but it's just I will do those interviews if I have
Sure.
this time open. So, but other than that, yeah. So, I mean, other than that, is there besides your podcast, where can people find your socials on that? So,
I was never involved in any kind of social media until I started doing a podcast because, again, I'm old and not really particularly adept in the technology world.
me too.
But the best way to reach me is either fearmeoutpodcast.com or
Mhm.
danasaperstein.com because I do have a website that has all the episodes of my podcast up on it. I do have a presence on Facebook and Instagram, and it's called Fear Me Out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I
So,
don't have any personal accounts because I don't think I'm interesting enough to have my own personal account. I don't think anybody cares what I had for breakfast or, you know.
oh, come on, the breakfast. I learned a valuable lesson. I was at a wedding vendor association, and it was like the week of Thanksgiving that I was in the hospital for a possible TIA or stroke. And my friend is like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Oh, I posted it. I've probably fallen asleep, like looking at my phone on Facebook on my personal one." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm in the hospital, another stroke or something." But I was like, people started coming up to me. I've been praying for you. And I was like, okay, well, thank you so much. I needed those prayers.
Right.
And, it's funny because the people that will tell me, why'd you post this? They may be the ones that post what they're eating. It's like, why do I have to see? Everybody can be opinionated, but I think what I do is I'm searching for prayers, love and light, like help pray for me as I can get out of here fast. So,
There.
but yeah, definitely. Now, the one thing I learned with a podcast, everybody says you have to have an Instagram, you have to have LinkedIn, you have to have a TikTok. And I was like, a TikTok? I was like, I went to my 11-year-old, show mommy how this works because
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I used to play with something called Musically app and, because I like singing and I was doing Christmas videos at the time, but I don't know if TikTok bought them out because they do the same thing or what happened with Musically. So if you know, write on my Facebook page, guys, educate me here. But so long story short, I learned how to do it and I wanted to show a more fun side so people could learn me, whether it was like an app for being Chucky, or something, or,
Right.
I saw the Grinch and I was like, no, I don't want to be a Grinch. But I'll also give tidbits of advice, shorter versions. So to put it
Yeah,
on there. And I noticed the following on TikTok is growing and growing and growing, which is nice.
yeah,
Instagram, because I like TikTok so much, I don't feel like I want to use Instagram now for some reason. And then I officially got on LinkedIn, and I was like, do I have to pay for this to get more people? Like, what do I need to do? And then, yeah, there's so many different sites now and how to get people to come. So I'm leaving it in God's hands. You know what?
yeah,
That's how, as a photographer, I got my clients, and I'm not going to sit there and stress or talk to anybody. I get offers, and you probably get offers. Oh, I can give you 4,000 people to look at your podcast. It's like, yeah, really? How are you going to do that?
yeah.
But anyways, I just wanted to say thank you. I think we touched all the bases, right? Or did I miss anything?
Well, the only thing I can speak a little bit about,
Yeah.
if we have time, is the
Yes, we
concept
do.
of fear.
Yes.
Because I think that fear runs most people's lives, and I don't think we realize how much of an effect that it has on our daily life, and that most of what we do with fear is turn it into aggression. And I don't think people realize that aggression can be a self-criticism.
Yeah.
Uh, and if you think about the way that you talk to yourself, you would never talk to anybody the way you talk to yourself, right? If we were held accountable for the way we talk to ourselves, we'd be in jail for assault. And
Yeah.
so I think that that has a lot to do with managing our feelings of vulnerability and fear and pain.
Yeah.
The other way that we become aggressive is obviously by criticizing and rejecting other people as a way of protecting ourselves. And sadly, the way that the political system works these days is that we've been encouraged to hurt the people that we're afraid of as a way of solving the problem. So it can happen on a personal level. It can happen on a global level. That solving problems by hurting people that don't agree with us, I think, is an incredibly dangerous way of handling fear. What
Yeah.
I encourage people to do is to slowly learn how to trust their intuition, because I really believe that a person's intuition is the voice of God inside of them. And
Yeah.
people often say to me, "I pray all the time, but I don't get any response." And I said, "Well, what about your intuition? How is that not a response?" And people say, "Well, I can't trust it because I can't prove that what I'm getting through my intuition is real." And I said, "Well, that's what faith is,
Yeah,
right? Is having
exactly.
faith that if you can distinguish between your fear and what your intuition is telling you, that you're really tuning into your personal relationship with God in a very powerful way. And if
Exactly.
if you're uncomfortable with the concept of God, call it your higher self, your whatever. I don't care what the term is, because in my sort of way of looking at things, why would God care what anybody calls God, right? It's
Exactly. Yeah.
and so I try to use spirituality a lot in helping people heal their trauma, because it's big. And as an example, about 7 out of 10 women have something sexual happen to them as they're growing up, either something relatively minor, there's really no such thing when it comes to sexual trauma, all the way to being raped in horrific ways. And about 6 out of 10 men have something sexual happen to them. And I think that with men it's underreported, because men are ashamed to admit that something like that could have happened to them. And so it's very epidemic in our society that children are being taken advantage of in really horrible ways.
Yeah.
So I think that the more we talk about it, the more we bring this stuff out in the open, the less shaming and symptoms people will develop. Because I look at a person's psychological symptoms as being a form of communication. So
Yeah.
it's, you can either go to a therapist and focus on your symptoms, which will be helpful, but if you don't really try to understand why those symptoms are being generated on a deeper level, then usually when you resolve a symptom, another one comes to take its place. So part of what I try to help people understand is that there's no shortcut to healing. It takes a lot of courage, but it's not impossible to heal really deep trauma. Because I can talk about the really horrible things that happened to me as an example, and I don't feel much of an emotional charge with any of them. And I've
Mhm.
had a lot of, I mean, what I've told you is a scratch on the surface. I had a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
stuff I had to deal with as a kid that was really horrible.
I'm
And,
sorry.
and I don't feel the remnants of that anymore at all. I have a very sweet life and I have a really great, family and profession and all of that. So I feel like if you're willing to work hard enough, you can heal whatever gets in your way.
Exactly. That is well said. Very well said. So, and especially anybody out there experiencing trauma and having, where can I go to talk to people? I have always said, okay, they created a number here for the states, 988 they can call, but I also think seeing a psychologist or counselor is a way to go also. So, and don't be scared to reach out to them. They're there to help you, get over anything. So I was running a meetup group to help people get out of abuse, narcissistic abuse.
Right.
And yeah, I know I've helped a couple and it made me feel good. But what was happening in my group is people who were actually narcissists were coming.
Yeah.
And I had to stop that group and protect myself and put up boundaries again. And I was like, okay. So, I mean, somebody pointed out, I want to hear you speak online. And I was like, have a podcast or anything, but it's always something I wanted to do. And I'm glad I did it. So, now I can speak freely, teach people what I know, what kind of problems if they're going through and direct them in the right way. So, but I can't wait for when you get these books done. I want to interview you again, get those books up so people can buy them and everything. So we're
You're
here
very,
at, huh?
I said you're very kind. I want to encourage people to consider that money doesn't have to be a huge object in getting help. Because a
Yep.
lot of people have said to me, well, I can't afford to come and see you because of blah, 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 because I live in an extremely wealthy community. And so it's not an issue for people to be able to afford therapy like it is in a lot of other parts of the country. Man, I don't live in a normal place at all. Santa Barbara's a crazy expensive, it's like one of the most expensive cities in the world now.
Yeah.
And everything costs a fortune. But I help therapists in training and
Mhm.
they accept whatever payment a person can afford. So if you're willing to do some work to try to find somebody that's in training, it's not going to cost you much at all. And that doesn't mean the person's not capable of being helpful.
Yeah.
So I really encourage people to do some, if they really, are motivated, you can find somebody to help you regardless of cost.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the biggest impediment is courage.
Yeah, you got to take that first step. And a lot of people will go, no, 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 I don't want to do this. So, I mean,
Well, and I'm not
it's
going to say
hard.
it's a pain-free process. I mean, I do a lot of hypnosis with people, and hypnosis is designed to take you back into the trauma so that you can actually feel the feelings about what it is that happened to you that you don't feel when it's happening. Because when people go through trauma, they don't experience the emotion associated with the trauma. All they experience is terror and they shut down and freeze. And so it turns into post-traumatic stress because you don't have a chance to process the experience in an emotional way. Hypnosis takes you right back into the state that you were in when you were frozen. And I developed some ways to help people release their emotional pain in that state of mind, which makes therapy go a lot more effectively and much quicker.
Yeah, definitely. I probably need to do that for me. A couple of things. You got me thinking. I was like, the medical ones,
Yeah.
being frozen in time. I was just remembering I didn't want to hurt. I didn't want to feel the knife go with me. I didn't
Oh,
feel the needles.
absolutely.
Yeah, I
It
just,
was a horrible experience. It saved your life, which is a good thing. But at the same time, to save your life, you have to go through pretty intense
yeah.
experience.
I think the worst thing, and the doctor's right, I don't like him, but was like, he's gonna kill me. But um no, I remember my mom was holding when all this was happening, and you have so much fear, and it's like, "Ugh." And he goes, you know, your daughter doesn't like me. He said that to my mom. And it's not like I can fight back or say something because I'm being held down, like when he's doing this, and I'm like,
Right.
breathe in, breathe out.
Yes.
It's, one of those things that I would consider wanting to go back on that one on a hypnosis session. That would be probably more healing to me and everything. So,
Well, if people are interested on my podcast, I actually did a hypnosis session with my partner at the time. And
hmm
it was quite profound what came up. Um, he was adopted and he'd never really dealt with what it felt like to grow up inside of his mom, knowing he wasn't wanted.
oh,
And he's
wow.
always had difficulty in relationships with women in terms of finding a suitable partner. And part of what came up for him is that because he was rejected by his mom on such a deep level and given away, that affected his ability to accept love in a clean way from a woman because he never felt like he deserved it. And so that was a really powerful thing that came
Yeah.
up on the podcast actually when we were doing a session of hypnosis and recording it. I think
Oh,
it's really fascinating for people to listen to if they want
yeah, definitely. I want to
to.
watch that. I mean, I have your website on my Facebook page for Keep Hope Alive, and underneath, I was really impressed with your website. I put a link there so people could jump into it also.
Oh,
So,
you're very kind.
yeah, definitely. I mean, it's well made. It will help people be able to go to what's bugging them and find it right away. So, as a planner and being organized all the time, I was like, this is a good website. So, but definitely.
And I
Well,
also am very open to questions if anybody ever wants to reach me. Um, just send me an email.
mhm,
I'll respond because my goal in life before I die is to help as many people as I can. I
yeah,
feel like I'm an incredibly blessed, really fortunate person, and uh, I just want to help. I like helping. It feels good,
it
and I
does
have the
good.
ability to do it in a way that's not taxing for me. So,
So I want to ask because I think people would ask this. Do you do Zoom meetings too?
I am legally bound to not do Zoom outside of California
Okay,
because you're only allowed to practice in the state that you're licensed.
gotcha.
And that's
Okay.
pretty much every state in the union. So um, I have to be a little bit careful doing that. Plus, the biggest problem I have right now is too much business. I have a waiting list of,
That's a problem.
yeah, yeah, I'm saying it tongue in cheek. Well, and it is a problem because I hate saying no to somebody who's in need.
Yeah, definitely. I totally understand that.
But I
So,
don't want to work any more than I am. And I have to take really good care of myself because I am physically actually pretty fragile. So I take really good care of myself to the point of probably being a little bit selfish because I don't want to die yet. I'm not quite ready, even though I've had a few opportunities. Uh,
yeah.
and so I have to be really careful about overdoing it. I have really serious heart issues and other stuff like that. So I can't really do Zoom, and I don't think it's a good idea actually with somebody who I've never met in person.
Yeah,
Because,
definitely.
part of the therapy healing experience is being in the presence of someone who you really feel a strong connection to that has your best interests in their heart.
Yeah.
I know this technology is pretty wonderful, but it's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same as being in person. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but podcasts, they'll make it easy. It's a learning tool for people to get the
Yes.
information, whatever state you're in, to go find somebody that does it in their state. But if you're in California, we're gonna come to you. So I was like,
Well,
I'll take another trip out to California.
yeah, there you go. Well, I'm just an incredibly fortunate man. I really believe that, despite the difficulties I've had to endure, I have a pretty sweet life.
That's good. That's good. I'm hoping, in my life I can get there too. And I had to learn this year patience and more self-love. And
It's
That's what
hard.
I work on. And, as of right now, I keep telling myself it's okay to go slow meeting somebody. You don't have to go fast,
Right.
because I don't know. I'm an empath. I pick winners. They're all learning lesson. So,
You asked me what the main focus of my practice is, and truth be told, I would say about 80% of the people I see are on the extreme ends of emotional sensitivity,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'm very much that way myself. So I understand the difference between a person that can sort of function in a normal way and
Yeah.
someone who's hypersensitive and really gets a lot of shame for being that way. And it's not easy being a really sensitive person, even though it has a huge upside.
Yeah,
Most
definitely.
people are made to feel really bad about that, especially men. I see a lot of really, really sensitive people and help those people understand that they are actually different. It's not just their sort of a
Yeah.
thought, it's real. And that you have to learn to embrace that difference in a way that you can live a very fulfilling life, but it's not easy.
It isn't easy. Like, I don't even think, like, in my case, my mom will make fun of me. Why don't you watch the news? I go, because it's brainwashing. I go, you're wasting your time with that. Like,
It's
why not be
heartbreaking.
happy, and then it could be a week from that day. And she's like, well, did you hear this? And I go, if
Yeah.
it's important, I'll come across Facebook and somebody will walk up and tell me, so if it was important, the last important thing that came through was Betty White's passing. But
Okay.
of course, everybody says everybody's wrong. Let's see if this is real.
Yeah.
So, but that was very heartbreaking. So,
Well, I think that the media encourages fear because fear generates productivity in terms of the economics. People buy stuff they don't need.
yeah,
People consume a lot of stuff that's not good for them,
yeah,
and it's all in the name of fear. So if we as a culture can keep people on the edge of panic, then
yeah,
they're going to buy stuff they don't need. They're going to drink too much. They're going to use too much drugs. They're going to eat really crappy food. They're going to do everything they can to numb themselves because they're kept in high alert all the time. And so, if you're
exactly.
a sensitive person, that's just going to take you down for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It
So
sure
I,
is.
hate to be so cynical, but I know that economics runs the world. So
It does. I remember when COVID, there was a shortage on what, toilet paper?
yeah,
I was like, hey, we're not getting many,
I guess,
so don't,
I guess when you're scared, you poop your pants. Who knows? I don't
like, yeah,
know.
our paper towel sales are down.
Yeah,
What can we do to the world to get
right.
more sales and paper towels?
Yeah,
So,
when I go to Costco, they laugh and look at me and say, "Oh, the Kleenex doctor's here."
yeah, definitely.
Yes, I can't buy enough Kleenex. Keep in
I
stock.
used to be like that all the time. My old office was cold all the time. I had runny nose nonstop.
Well, this is from people crying in because of the
Oh,
healing process. So a
yes,
therapist
that's
without
right. My
Kleenex
phone's
is out of
going,
business.
yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't want to sound like I'm laughing at a healing process, but
no,
the tissue buying, yeah, definitely.
yeah.
So, but yeah, I want to say thank you for coming on to Keep Hope Alive. And I give your website again out and how they
It's
can contact you.
fearmeoutpodcast.com
Mhm.
or danasaperstein.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And I'll have all his information on our Facebook page and on the descriptions of the videos that get posted as well. So I would like to quickly thank our other sponsors for this show. Of course, we talked about Life on Record. We also have Bridal Shows Inc. So if you are in the uh Dallas Fort Worth area and planning an event, you can go check them out at bridalshowsinc.com and see when the trade shows are. I think there's like 4 or 5 a year, and they will have all your vendors there to give you the information you need to book all that info stock for your special event. We also have partytimetexas.com, your one place stop shop, get your vendors, your DJs, your bands, your caterers, your venues, your florists, whatever you need for your event. They are there to help you. So once again, that's www.partytimetexas.com. We have Mr. Bryce Harney, who is traveling all over the states, very well known on all the TV stations, but he is a magician and a mind mentalist and does big corporate events too. Thank you, Bryce, for being a part of Keep Hope Alive. And then we have Miss Deborah Rose with Miles and Smiles. It's deborahrose.com. And she does the handwriting, like I mentioned earlier, the lipstick readings, and she's putting herself out there in different events to bring fun, encouraging stuff to them, to bring that positive energy up too. So our last one is richmondpunch.net. He is a violinist, graduated from the Juilliard, has been in the Dallas area for a long time doing events, and moved to Atlanta now, but he has been on Lifetime shows. He's played in front of 1 million people with his work. So Richmond, thank you for being a part also. And to all my sponsors and my guests and the people that watch and make this show actually happen, I appreciate you guys so much. And I appreciate you, Dana. And you gave so much good, positive energy feedback on what you do. And I loved hearing it. And I know everybody else is going to be talking. Phone number. We have a phone number to help out too. So if you have questions for Dana, you can call 866-780-HOPE. And you can leave a message for Dana and I will give it to him if it's there and he can hear that recording and we'll get those questions answered for you. But other than that, thank you. And I hope everybody has a good day. Bye, guys. Love and
Thank
light.
you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, thank you. I had fun. Bye-bye.